From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. This is Dateline Malacañang. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Monday morning flew to Tacloban City, Leyte Province to attend two activities that involves strengthening internet connectivity. The President is scheduled to lead the grand launching of the National Fiber Backbone Phase 2 and 3. This is part of the national government's project in laying down the government-owned fiber optic network to provide faster and affordable internet in the entire country. Phase 2 and 3 of the project covers southern Luzon and several areas in the Visayas such as Cebu, Negros, and Leyte. The project is expected to provide faster and cheaper internet connection, especially in rural and underserved areas. Also part of the President's activity is the launch of the free public Wi-Fi site, which is expected to serve several hospitals in Tacloban, waiting area at the Daniel Romualdez Airport, and a number of malls in the city.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. assured the public that the government's 20 peso per kilo rice program is not a temporary measure and will soon be available in more public markets nationwide. In his latest vlog released Sunday, the President said the program, being rolled out through Kadiwa ng Pangulo outlets for vulnerable sectors, is part of the administration's efforts to provide affordable food and strengthen the agriculture sector through sustained collaboration between the national and local governments. The initiative, called Benteng Bigas Meron Na or BBM, was one of President Marcos's campaign promises aimed at alleviating the burden of rising food prices. The 20 peso per kilogram rice is currently available to senior citizens, solo parents, persons with disabilities, indigent families, and minimum wage earners, with 1 million targeted beneficiaries by year-end. As newly appointed national and local officials assumed office on June 30th, President Marcos encouraged them to work together for service delivery.
Hindi lamang po sa Kadiwa stores may 20 peso rice, kundi pati na rin sa mga palengke natin. Parami na ang ating mga location. At hindi lang po ito pop-up store na mawawala naman pagkatapos na masimulan. Tuloy-tuloy na po ito. Sa ngayon, as we said, vulnerable sectors muna, doon sa higit na mga nangangailangan. Sa pagtutulungan ng maraming ahensya ng national government at ngayon in partnership with the local government, 20 peso rice is here to stay. It is achievable, it is sustainable. Kaya abangan ninyo in your nearest public market.
Addressing concerns that the low prices may hurt farmers, President Marcos reiterated that safeguards are in place to prevent the depression of palay or unhusked rice prices. The chief executive said the National Food Authority or NFA is mandated to purchase wet palay at 18 pesos per kilogram and dry palay at 19 to 23 pesos per kilogram. President Marcos also cited the continued rollout of rice processing facilities and dryers across the country to empower farmers to store and process their harvest instead of being forced to sell to traders at low prices.
Pero nga nagsasabi na meron silang pangamba na dahil binaba ang presyo ng bigas, sasabay din ang presyo ng palay. Hindi po totoo yan. Meron po tayong minimum buying price. Ang NFA ay bibili ng basa na palay sa 18 pesos. Yung dried na palay mula 19 hanggang 23 pesos. Kahit ano pa ang maging presyo ng bigas, hindi po bababa dito ang pagbili ng NFA sa palay mula sa ating mga magsasaka. Ang dahilan kung bakit kayang baratin ng mga trader ang pagbili ng palay sa ating mga magsasaka dahil wala silang mga processing. Kaya basa ang hawak nilang palay, napipilitin sila na ipagbili ka agad ito kung anumang presyo ang binibigay ng trader. Kaya naman ay nagkakalat po tayo ng mga price processing plant, daan-daan na mga dryer para yung farmer, meron na siyang dryer, mamimili na siya kung saan niya dadalhin yung tuyo na niya na palay. Kaya't hindi siya mapipilitan maipagbili yung kanyang palay kung anong presyo ang binibigay sa kanya ng trader.
The Philippine president likewise reaffirmed his administration's focus on building a resilient agricultural system to ensure food security from farm production to processing, transport, and retail. On Wednesday, the president led the launch of the program at Zapote Public Market in Bacoor, Cavite Province. It marks a major expansion of the 20 peso rice initiative originally intended for pilot testing in the Visayas in May. According to the Department of Agriculture or DA's Agribusiness and Marketing Assistance Service, the program has already reached over 105,000 families in Luzon and the Visayas, distributing more than 804,000 kilos of rice between May 13 and June 30th. To date, 94 outlet sites have been established across the country.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news, the Philippine government repatriation program for Filipinos who want to return home from Israel continued with the latest batch of 13 hotel workers and caregivers arriving home last Friday. The Department of Migrant Workers, or DMW, over the weekend said another batch of 13 overseas Filipino workers, or OFWs, from Israel returned home safely on July 4th at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport, or NAIA Terminal 1, reflecting the whole of government team's continued efforts on assisting distressed workers in the Middle East. Upon arrival, the OFWs underwent health checks and received immediate financial assistance as a safety net, including from the DMW, Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, or OWA's Emergency Repatriation Fund, Social and Welfare Development Assistance and Training Vouchers. The DMW said the broad support is in line with President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s directive to provide a comprehensive reintegration assistance to returning OFWs from Israel. Josephine Sanglitan Sandoy, one of the repatriated caregivers, left Israel after almost 2 decades. She was part of a group of workers who were taking cover inside a shelter when a missile struck nearby. The new batch was welcomed by DMW Undersecretary Dominique Rubia Tutay and Assistant Secretary Maria Angela Gallias, OWA Deputy Administrator Ryan Uy, Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD representatives, and the airport medical team. Based on the latest data from the Philippine Embassy in Israel, a total of 47 OFWs have so far availed of the voluntary repatriation flight of the government following Israel's assault on Iran last month.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, 25 overseas Filipino caregivers from Israel are now finally safe in the arms of their families after they availed the voluntary repatriation program of the government and safely arrived at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport or NAIA Terminal 3 in Pasay City on Sunday, July 6th. Mobilized by President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., the whole of government team, led by Department of Migrant Workers or DMW Secretary Hans Leo Magpayo, warmly welcomed the OFWs and immediately provided them with comprehensive reintegration assistance. Secretary Magpayo told the repatriates that the President is concerned with the OFW's safety, but he is now happy that they were able to return home. Magpayo added that President Marcos's instruction is that the government's help should reach the OFWs. DMW and the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration or OWA, led by Administrator P.Y. Kaunan, provided immediate financial aid under their flagship programs, Action Fund and Emergency Repatriation Fund, aside from the separate cash aid from the Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD. The returning OFWs were also given training vouchers from the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority or TESDA to be used for their upskilling while staying in the country and medical checkup and referral assistance from the Department of Health or DOH. Upon arrival, the repatriates were given health checkups by the DOH and Manila International Airport Authority or MIA medical team. The 25 OFWs compose the 39th batch of repatriates from Israel under the government's voluntary repatriation program by the Marcos administration. A total of 72 OFWs have undergone voluntary repatriation since the Iran-Israel conflict erupted. Since October 2023, a total of 1,405 Filipino migrant workers have been able to go home via the repatriation program under the guidance of President Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang expressed elation over Lithuania's support for the Philippines' stand and policy to defend and protect the West Philippine Sea or WPS. This after Lithuania's Defense Minister Dovile Sakaliene backed the Philippines amid China's incursions and aggression in the WPS. In a press briefing, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said, Lithuania has seen what President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. is doing. How will the President and the current administration defend the rights of fishermen and other compatriots regarding the West Philippine Sea? President Marcos Jr., in the June 21 episode of his podcast, pledged to continue protecting Philippine territory, saying he would not allow any foreign power to seize even an inch of the country's domain. The chief executive also vowed to continue asserting the country's sovereign rights over the WPS. To protect the country's marine resources, President Marcos on November 8, 2024, signed Republic Act or RA 12064, the Philippine Maritime Zones Act, and RA 12065, the Philippine Archipelagic Sea Lanes Act. RA 12064 delineates the maritime zones under the jurisdiction of the Philippines, while 12065 designates the sea lanes and air routes suitable for the continuous and expeditious passage of foreign ships and aircraft through or over its archipelagic waters and the adjacent territorial sea.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Navy, or PN, on Sunday confirmed the possible transfer of the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force, or JMSDF's Abukuma-class destroyer escorts. The PN is now undertaking preparatory steps for a joint visual inspection, or JVI, of the ships following the official invitation from Japan's Ministry of Defense. In a statement, the PN said, the planned inspection forms part of exploratory discussions on the possible transfer of these naval assets to the Philippines. The naval assets are designed for anti-submarine and anti-ship warfare. The Abukuma-class destroyer escorts are known for their reliability and versatility, which align with the PN's operational requirements in protecting the country's maritime domains. The Abukuma-class destroyer escorts have a displacement of 2,000 gross tons and a length of 109 meters and a beam of 44 meters. It has a top speed of 27 knots and is armed with various anti-ship missiles, anti-submarine rockets and torpedoes, along with a 76mm main gun and 20mm closed-in weapon system. The JMSDF operated 6 Abukuma-class destroyer escorts, which were constructed from 1988 to 1991. A delegation of naval experts from the PN will be dispatched to conduct an in-depth assessment of the ships. The PN said this initiative reflects the deepening strategic partnership between the Philippines and Japan and reinforces the shared commitment to maritime security, interoperability, and regional peace and stability.
Dateline Malacañang.
The administration of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has erased a total of 53 million pesos worth of loans of farmers from the Eastern Visayas. In commemoration of the second anniversary of the implementation of Republic Act, or RA number 11953, or the new Agrarian Emancipation Act, over 1,200 agrarian reform beneficiaries, or ARBs, in Eastern Visayas were awarded with certificates of condonation at the Tacloban City Convention Center in Leyte Province. Led by Attorney Cazel Celeste, Undersecretary of Field Operations of the Department of Agrarian Reform, or DAR, almost 2,000 certificates of condonation with release of mortgage, or COCROMs, were distributed to 1,293 ARBs. Under this, 53 million pesos worth of unpaid amortizations, including interest, were officially erased. Besides COCROMs, Celeste, along with DAR Regional Director, Attorney Robert Anthony Yu, also distributed 4,486 land titles to individuals, covering 6,000 hectares of land for a total of 3,779 beneficiaries. The move is part of DAR's continuing efforts to promote fair and just reforms on lands for farmers in the region that aims to provide farmers to till their own land by giving beneficiaries their own land.
Dateline Malacañang.
Lipa Archbishop Gilbert Garcera will be the new president of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines, or CBCP, by December. According to the CBCP news website, the 66-year-old prelate was elected during the first day of the bishop's 130th plenary assembly in Anda, Bohol Province on Saturday. He will succeed the Diocese of Caloocan's Cardinal Pablo Virgilio David on December 1st. Garcera has been head of the Archdiocese of Lipa in Batangas Province since 2017. He is also currently the CBCP Permanent Council's regional representative for Southeast Luzon. CBCP officials serve 2-year terms and may be re-elected once for a maximum of 4 years. Garcera was ordained priest for the Archdiocese of Caceres in Naga City, Camarines Sur Province in 1983. In 2007, he was appointed Bishop of Daet in the same province, then transferred to Lipa City. Archbishop Julius Tonel, head of the Archdiocese of Zamboanga, was elected vice president. The 68-year-old bishop will succeed Pasig's Milo Hubert Vergara, who is also on his second and final term.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, the Department of Foreign Affairs or DFA announced that the Philippines has welcomed 8 additional Rohingya refugees who will pursue undergraduate degrees at selected universities across the country. The 8 who arrived in Manila last week are beneficiaries of the Philippine government's Complementary Pathways or CPATH program, which offers tertiary education opportunities and comprehensive support services to displaced Rohingya refugees in Southeast Asia. In an ex-post, the DFA said the program is a reflection of Manila's enduring tradition of offering refuge and solidarity. The DFA said they will stay in the country at least until their studies are completed. The agency added that support for their tuition and cost of living comes from private donors. It did not provide further details on where the refugees will stay or the schools they will study in while in the Philippines for safety reasons, noting that they are still fleeing persecution. The CPATH is a joint effort by the Philippine government, United Nations Refugee Agency, and academic partners, including Columban College, De La Salle Araneta University, San Beda University, St. Louis University, Tarlac State University, and University of St. La Salle. According to the DFA, the Philippines is hosting 25 Rohingya refugees under the program, 6 of whom arrived in 2022, 8 in 2023, 1 in 2024, and a total of 10 this year.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service is live on audio streaming. Just download Evox PBS Receiver on your Google Play Store or the App Store from your Apple phone. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Just type in and search for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our post as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.